Welcome to the Haunted Hangover podcast.
Whoa, that was a loud one.
I'm Louie, and as always, I'm joined by my bud Dave.
Boop, 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 boop.
It was listen. It's the first new episode of the new year. Got to start it with that energy, with
Here
that
we are.
super energetic.
With that new laptop energy that you have.
Yes, I have a whole new setup, so I've got to you know what, to match the new way I'm running on this new setup here. I had to bring the energy to life.
Okay.
And it's a new year, so you got to keep it fresh, you know what I'm saying?
That's right.
You got to be loud.
That's right, baby.
You got to be loud and wake people up, wake the listeners up, because they haven't heard us in a few weeks together. So this is the triumphant return of the Haunted Hangover podcast after a few weeks of...
We didn't go anywhere.
Yeah,
I was sick. I still have a cough. I had COVID. First time.
Yes.
First time I ever got it.
Yes, you're getting over the viddy.
Yep.
So excuse Dave's little cough.
I might have a cough.
hear.
I might have a little cough here and there, but
just let
you'll
it out.
be okay.
It adds the ambiance to the show. A little Dave cough there. But yes, Happy New Year, Dave.
Happy New Year, bud.
And Happy New Year to the listeners, because
Happy New Year.
It is a new
people.
year, 2023, the year of the pumpkin on this show. I don't even know what animal is this year.
Look.
On the Chinese. There you go. You got the WCW Halloween Havoc hat on. But yes, we're back, and it's also a special date. So there's a lot to celebrate, because it is Friday the 13th. If you're listening to this on Friday the 13th when it's released. It's Friday the 13th. And we always do our Friday the 13th special, and we'll be getting into that in a minute. But I wanted to kind of do, I guess, what is it called? Housekeeping at the top of the show here. Just to kind of...
I've never heard that term. Go ahead.
I'm pretty sure that's like a podcaster thing or a podcast thing. I guess. Not that we're not professional. Actually, no, we are professionals here. But...
I don't know the lingo.
I barely know the lingo. But yes, I just wanted to talk about a couple of things. The year 2023 and what we've got planned. All the great spooky stuff that you'd expect from the Haunted Hangover podcast with Dave and I. We've got episodes of Anthology Obscura coming. That might take a little longer. We're having some technical issues on that side of things. With the other two, with Chris and Sam, but
The other two.
They should be up and running back to normal very soon, and we should have some more Anthology Obscura episodes for the year 2023. Also, Tommy Valley. We debuted the Tommy Talk segment. I'm currently in the process of editing his third video. So Tommy Valley's been delivering the goods here at Haunted
Tommy
Hangover
Knuckles,
as well.
Tommy Donuts, Tommy Dollars, Tommy Dimes, Tommy Nickels, Tommy Ice Creams, Tommy Waffles. I like Tommy Waffles. All right, I'm gonna start calling him that.
Tommy Steal Your Girl. That's the most important
Tommy
one.
Egos. Hey, what up, Tommy Egos?
Yeah, so Tom's been putting up he's been putting together some videos. Got that to look forward to over on the Haunted Hangover YouTube channel, as well as the video versions of all of our episodes, and two other things to look forward to this year with the Haunted Hangover brand or umbrella, I guess is what you'd call it. There's going to be another show, another new show that I'm not going to go in depth here because I just want to release it and see if people like it. But we're going to have a new show called, it's going to be, I'll tell you what it's called. It's called Haunted Hall, and that should be up very soon this month. Keep an eye out for that. Plus more haunt reviews and spooky attractions and things like that for me. And tons of other shit. There's got a lot planned. We took a couple weeks off from recording. I think the last episode we released on the podcast feed was a Haunted Mansion holiday review I did. A solo show. But we're back and better than ever, minus Dave's cough and his recovery.
And I moved, so it's just a little different for me because I'm not as I don't want to say not available. I'm just not. It's more of a process to get a time down for us to record. So, but I'm not going anywhere.
I'm sure that'll be all sorted out in the months to come. So once again, you got a lot to look forward to when it comes to the Haunted Hangover, just in general, not even just the Haunted Hangover podcast, just Haunted Hangover in general. If you're a listener, also Patreon. Can't forget Patreon. We have a couple of things planned. I might be doing a solo show that I release early. I am going to be doing this show very soon, where you'll have early access to it on Patreon, and then you'll have it in the normal podcast feed maybe a few weeks later. But plus the shows Dave and I do, and maybe some more surprises in the future. Lots of updates here at Haunted Hangover, stepping it up in the year 2023. You looking forward to it, Dave? All the craziness?
That house cleaning up. Yeah, honestly.
that house cleaning up. Housekeeping, I think is what it's called. No clue. We're the fucking worst when it comes to that lingo.
This is a little random right here.
Yes.
So I know you use Letterboxd, and I'm sure we have plenty of listeners that use Letterboxd.
Yes.
And it's a great way to keep up with what you watch, what you want to watch, read reviews. It's a great app.
I agree.
I have to say, so we're 10 days into 2023, and I've already watched, I think, 9 movies already.
I'm up there too. I think we're tied, 9 apiece, around that.
Yeah.
So keep it up.
Crazy.
Yeah, dude. Listen, if you love movies, you should be on Letterboxd. That's what I'll say.
I never used to watch this many movies. That's why I brought it up. I was like, I can't believe I watched 9 movies already in 2023.
I'm sure there'll be plenty more, and I'm sure
Yeah.
I'm sure some of the movies you'll be writing small little reviews on will be covering on the show in the future. So
sure,
I'm sure that's coming down the pipeline as well. But yes, it's Friday the 13th. Popular day for horror fans. Jason Voorhees, all that good shit. We've done this 3 times now. Friday the 13th special from Haunted Hangover 2023. Friday the 13th special. I have a feeling there's 2 of these this year. I think there's 2 Friday the 13th in 2023. I'm pretty sure. Hopefully I'm right.
Is it usually only 1 or is it usually 2?
I think last year there was only 1, but I think this year there's 2. 1 early in the year and then 1 later in the year. Later in the year, I was actually thinking of us diving into one of the movies. I think that'd be kind of fun. We've never done that yet.
Okay.
But, as usual, we thought it'd be fun to kind of talk about some of our favorite Friday the 13th things or Friday the 13th adjace, because we don't pick the most they're very unorthodox. We don't go with
they just have to do with Friday the 13th. I mean, let's just be real here. That's it. There's just shit that has to do with Friday the 13th.
It's sort of Friday the 13th. It's never even really fully Friday the 13th in our case sometimes. But we've been pretty honestly, previous 2 episodes we have dove into things that are Friday the 13th related, like to the franchise specifically. This year, I think we definitely veered off a little bit, which is a good thing. You have to branch out because this shit gets boring. Talking about Jason Voorhees,
it does 100%.
Killing teenagers at a camp can get kind of boring, and just talking about your favorite things, it also opens up the conversation and makes it more fun for us on the show.
For sure.
But before we start jumping into some of our Friday the 13th picks or things that we like, or I guess just right, it's like Friday the 13th. Association, I guess, because some of these this year we definitely went out of the box. It's not, I don't think many of our picks, I don't think a lot of our picks have to do with the franchise, like characters and shit like that. It's very much outside of that circle.
Yeah.
I thought it would be fun to open the show and talk about our favorite depiction of Jason Voorhees in the series. Now, if I remember correctly, when we first did this, we ranked the films. We ranked from our, I believe, least favorite to favorite, or favorite to least favorite. I forget. And then we also, the second time we did it around, we had Chris on with us. We talked about our favorite kills in the franchise. So I thought we'd open this show up by talking about our favorite version of Jason. And this was hard for me. I'm not even going to lie. I had to kind of. I know you. Listen, you
picked it before I picked it. You picked mine before I picked mine.
Well, I knew we were gonna do it, so trust me. It took me a couple of days to really. Like, I was looking at pictures of Jason. I was like, I like this one, I like that one. I knew who you were gonna pick right away. Like, because I think you might have. I'm pretty sure you've mentioned it on the show before. So I already knew who you were gonna go with, but for me, it was tricky. And I'll start. I'll start with my favorite depiction of Jason because I'm going to mention a runner-up first. So I'm sort of cheating because I'm mentioning two picks. So my favorite, my runner-up for favorite Jason look or depiction of Jason is the Jason from Part 4, Friday the 13th, Part 4, the final chapter. I just always like and honestly, he almost looks like the way he does in Part 3 with the greenish shirt and like khaki pants.
Part 4 is the Corey Feldman one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And with Crispin Glover dancing and doing all that crazy shit. But I was always a fan of the Jason hockey mask with the axe mark in it and the blood. So that was sort of my runner-up because I think Jason's look is kind of boring. He looks the same way he does in Part 3. They just gave him some added, like added damage to the mask and to his clothing, but he doesn't really look all that different. But I am a big fan of Jason, Friday the 13th, Part 4, the final chapter. So
yeah, it's fun.
I kind of wanted. They're all fun. We've talked about that ad nauseum too. But I would have to say that's probably, my two picks are basically my favorite in the franchise. When it comes to the films and also depictions of the character. Okay. But my real pick after really just kind of sitting and thinking about it, my favorite depiction of Jason Voorhees is and I call it the hefty bag Jason from Jason Takes Manhattan from 1989, portrayed by Kane Hodder. Now, the reason why I call him Hefty Bag Jason is because my man looks like a hefty bag in that movie. He's always shiny. If you look at like a black hefty bag.
Yeah, he is always shiny. That's funny.
I don't know why I've always called it like, he's always, so in the movie, you've got Kane Hodder who, he's always been a kind of a meaty, kind of, not, Jack, I don't know if jacked is the right word.
He's a big dude.
Big dude. I don't think he's tall. We've seen him at conventions together. He's not like a huge guy.
He's tall. He's definitely tall. I mean,
like maybe my height, like 6'1", around that, like that. I don't think he's like that big when it comes to what you would think of when you think of a Jason or a slasher movie killer. Something that you would see like in a Rob Zombie movie, like Rob Zombie's Michael Myers, who's like 7 feet tall. But yeah. What I like about him, he's a little wide in that movie. And again, the hefty bag look, he's always wet and slimy, which I do enjoy because it does play into kind of how he dies at the end of Jason Takes Manhattan. But I've always liked the slimy look. I like that you could see his forearms, right? That's what this is called, this area, because his shirt is damaged. Yeah. It's damaged to the point where you could kind of see the crustiness of his skin, because in the continuity of the series, he was, I believe, under the water, chained from looking like a dinosaur in the previous installment, the dinosaur Jason Voorhees from a New Blood. Is it New Blood? The one with the telekinetic
New Blood
girl. So he looks very different in Jason Takes Manhattan. You could tell it wasn't John Carl Buechler who designed this version of Jason from Part 8. But I've always liked it. And I'm a big fan of the yellow-tinted hockey mask that he steals from the couple on the boat who were having sex. Because technically it's not his original mask. He steals it from that guy who pranks his girlfriend. Then I think he takes what is that shit called? The harpoon to the stomach. Yeah, harpoon to the stomach. And so technically he got like a costume version of his mask that he's wearing, which I always dug. And again, he's just nasty looking. I just like the wetness of he never dries. He never looks dry in the movie. And again, and I've talked about it on the show before. I'm a big Jason Takes Manhattan fan, as stupid as the movie is. I fucking love it. So yeah,
I like it too.
My favorite depiction. I don't know why. And you know, one more thing. This is the first time that Jason teleports too, where he just is in one place.
Yep.
And a character looks that way and he's fucking over there. He didn't do that up until this point, to my recollection. So yeah, it's just I think they just went all out with the ridiculousness of the Jason Voorhees character. At part 8, he's in fucking Manhattan on the boat, killing people and shit. So makes sense to just make the like the way he looks ridiculous to match the movie that he's featured in.
Come on, Roy. Get your hands dirty.
So my favorite depiction, and if you haven't seen part 5, A New Beginning, spoiler alert.
I'm sure everyone.
Yeah.
We're giving spoiler warnings for something everybody knows.
I'm just doing it to just be fair.
Just in case. It's just habit. I get that.
Right.
So don't worry.
Yeah. Mine is Roy Burns. I mean, Roy exhibits some of the best kills in the franchise. The prosthetic, like, cowl or, like, neck.
Yeah, it's weird.
Like, he has a whole prosthetic done.
It's like
which
shoulder,
is crazy.
Yeah.
It's
like shoulder
crazy.
pads and shit, right? To make him look more intimidating,
Yeah,
I
it's
guess.
wild.
Yeah.
And then the mask itself, I mean, with the blue lines, it's the best mask in the franchise, in my opinion. And it's funny, you brought up the mask from part 4. I actually own, like, really sick replicas.
Yeah. I think you've mentioned it on the show before.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you've talked about your love for, you know, this Jason. I knew you were going to pick it. I knew this was going to be your pick because, you know, you've talked about in the past, you've talked about how part 5 is your favorite because of how ridiculous and different it is from the rest of the franchise. If you think about it, the only other film in the franchise that kind of changes the format where it's not actually Jason is Jason Goes to Hell, probably when comparing it to Friday the 13th part 5. But you know what I always found interesting about the Roy depiction of it, the coveralls, the Michael Myers coveralls. He doesn't wear because Jason's not known for wearing that. That's more of like a Michael Myers thing. So I like how in part 5, he's basically lifting Michael Myers' outfit when you think about it. Yeah. So it's kind of crazy. You own a part 5 mask too, right?
I have a part 4 and a part 5 mask, and my part 4 mask is signed. I think his name's Ted White, the guy that played Jason in that movie.
In part 4? Nice.
Yeah, in part 4. It's sick.
I got your part 5 mask signed, man.
I don't know if that guy even does convention. Well, I don't know if it was Roy even. I don't think it was.
No, I think it's
the
somebody
actor
else.
that played Roy.
No, it's somebody else.
We have to look into that. The one that I have is signed though. I don't know. It might be signed by the dude. I don't remember. This is so long ago that I got these masks. So
yeah.
And then just not to mention again, I also love that it's Roy. It's not Jason. So
yeah. I know you champion that movie all the time, and just kind of that storyline to kind of have the imposter Jason running shit in that movie and killing people. It is. I guarantee they had someone else portray like the Jason, like the killing part is probably like a stuntman, and then the actor that played Roy is only in those few scenes when he's like a paramedic, and then at the very end, which I always thought was weird because when you see him dead when he hits the spikes at the very end and the rain's hitting him, you can't even tell it's the same dude. The shot is so quick and it's raining and it's dark that it doesn't even look like it's the same person. I remember the first time watching Jason, I keep saying Jason, Friday the 13th, A New Beginning. I remember the first time I watched that movie 100 years ago, I was like, wait, who's the fucking killer? Like, who was that? Because honestly, without that follow-up scene afterwards, you would forget that Roy was a thing in that movie because he kind of disappears halfway through. Like, you see him a couple times, and then you don't see him for the rest of the movie until the very end where it's revealed that it was him. You know, it is. Listen, when you really think about it, they tried something different. The execution probably could have been a little better in reality. Maybe one more scene with Roy, so that the audience gets to know him a little bit better. That's always been my only beef with that movie. I do love part 5, but I that was always my only beef. He could have used like one more scene because you do forget about him. You figure, at least I do.
I mean,
like,
I think that's effective though, that you forget about him.
Yeah, I guess, but it does kind of come out of nowhere when you really think about it. It's just like, okay, he's the killer because they killed his son in the beginning, and he didn't know that was his son or some shit. He put him up for adoption. I forget the context of. I know that's why he did it.
Well, that's exactly why he did it. So this is a good segue into one of my picks. I think I should just go ahead and start talking about one of my picks because it's perfect.
Go for it.
Okay, so one of my favorite things about Friday the 13th is, if you do a little searching, there is such a thing called the Roy theory. There is a theory that a new beginning takes place 5 years after Jason's death and takes possession of Roy Burns. Roy Burns is a paramedic who witnesses the aftermath of the killing of his estranged son, Joey. Throughout A New Beginning, we have Jason resuming his responsibilities of stalking and killing, and to our surprise at the end of the film, it's an imposter. It's Roy. Roy exhibits superhuman strength. This is where it gets interesting. He exhibits superhuman strength in the film, which is also related to Jason taking possession. Once Roy is killed, our bud Tommy Jarvis seemingly may be possessed. To further this theory, we get plenty of Jason body swappings, and Jason goes to hell.
Which I mentioned, funny enough. So that is an interesting theory. My only issue with it is that they never follow it up in part 6.
I mean,
so it's kind of like, because Tommy Jarvis comes back not possessed by Jason, wanting to kill Jason. They have that great scene in the graveyard where he's digging up his body, and it's like that's when zombie Jason. That's when he becomes zombie.
That is a
version.
fucking great scene.
Oh, it's phenomenal. It's one of the best scenes in the franchise.
They shot it in Corey Feldman's backyard.
Really? I don't know.
Because
about that.
he couldn't be in the movie.
Well, you're thinking about part 5. You're not thinking about part 6. Part 5
is thinking about part. Oh, wait, you're right.
Yeah, part 5. Part 5 is in the beginning of part 5. Corey Feldman.
That's right. You're right. I totally mixed the movies up.
And then he's not in it. But part 6, they're also in a graveyard. Remember Tommy Jarvis? And when he sticks the fence, and the lightning hits it, brings Jason back to life.
But just to rewind, that scene was shot in Corey Feldman's backyard.
Yeah, I think I remember hearing about that because he was so busy with like the Goonies or something like that.
So he was busy with something, and they couldn't get him, so they shot it in his fucking backyard, which is amazing.
They had a few hours with him. They got him in the movie just for continuity. It works. But back to this theory, it makes sense. I could see why you being a fan of part 5, being a huge fan of part 5, liking the concept of Jason as a spirit being responsible for possessing Roy, and then eventually Tommy Jarvis. But again, they never. I almost wish they followed up with that in part 6 and made Tommy maybe a killer. Dude, it's so funny when you think about it. All these franchises tried that shit at one point to make someone else like take up the mantle of the lead killer. Halloween 4, remember? Like Jamie Lloyd kills her like adopted mother at the end, or stabs her. She doesn't kill her. She stabs her with the scissors. They wanted her to be the killer. Never happened. Tommy Jarvis, they wanted him to be the killer. Never happened. I'm sure, and I can't think of it right now, somewhere in A Nightmare on Elm Street, that happened where someone was possessed maybe by Freddy or some shit. And maybe Freddy had a baby, right? A kid, a son or something at one point in one of the movies. Maybe they wanted him to be the killer and take up the mantle of Freddy Krueger and kill people, but never happened. And fan theories are always fun too. Like 100%. When you read about these things and people kind of go real, like they not that they overthink it, but they kind of add details that make the movie better. There's entire YouTube channels on these things, but it is an interesting concept. And honestly, I think it would have been cool if part 5 went into Jason Goes to Hell, because then it would have made
cool.
It would have made even more sense, but we would have never gotten part 6, 7, and the glorious Jason Takes Manhattan. So,
You know, I just had a random thought.
What?
It's very random. I can't believe Linnea Quigley has never been in a Friday the 13th.
Yeah, that is odd.
Right?
That is very odd.
It just occurred to me.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, yeah, it's weird. Like, I think she would have been prime in the mid. Honestly, part 5. That would have been the one where part 5 or 6, she would have been. That was like
also,
prime
dude,
Linnea Quigley time.
Think about this. Part 5 has 3. Is it 3? No,
Yeah.
it has 2. No, it's 2 actors from Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
And then part 6 has Tom, I think his name's Tom Matthews.
Yeah, he's
from
Tommy
Return of the Living
Jarvis.
Dead.
Yeah.
Right. And then, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm surprised that they didn't, they didn't even have her in any of those.
Yeah, it's weird. You would think, when was Return of the Living Dead? 85? I think 85. 85.
I don't know.
I think around 85, 86, around that mid 80s. So it is strange that she never popped up in one of the movies. Maybe she looked too older. Maybe she looked a lot older than she looked young. She played a teenager in Night of the Demons, right? They were in high school, so she was probably like 25 in reality. But all those actors were a lot older, portraying teenage kids. So yeah, weird that she never got to be in one. That's a good point. I like that. So my first pick for one of my favorite Friday the 13th things is a song, and not a song on one of the soundtracks. For once, it's not.
I never heard this until the other day. It's pretty funny.
So I want to say this. I do not listen to this band. I'll be honest. I'm not a big fan of their music. This is probably the only song I like from their catalog. And I don't know much about the band. They're just one of these like thrashy, horror-themed bands that have been around for like 20, 30 years. But like they're like one of those bands that were together in the 80s, broke up for 20 years, and then got back together. You know,
right.
how that's happened to bands in the past where like they've been around for 30 years, but they like broke up and were on hiatus for 20 of those years. So, and the song's title is Friday the 13th Part 2. That's the name of the fucking song. And it's from the band FKU, but the U, I believe, is the Swedish U. To my knowledge, I might be completely
have like 2
wrong.
dots over it or something?
2 dots over, yeah. So it's like FKU. And this is a band from Sweden. And the FKU, you know what it stands for? Can you guess, Dave? Can you guess? Just take a crack at it. What does FKU stand for?
A curse word?
No. Want me to tell you?
Me.
You're
Yes.
not going to get this. So the band's name FKU stands for, and this is according to the internet, because I googled this.
Wait.
Okay.
Is it Freddy Krueger University?
You are close. You are close with the name.
Okay.
But you're way off with the university. So so FKU, this is so stupid, stands for, according to what I read on the internet, Freddy Krueger's underwear.
That's amazing.
I am not shitting you. That is where the FKU, the acronym, right? Acronym is when you
I think so.
Yeah. Is Freddy Krueger's underwear. That's the name. That's where they get their band name from. I tried to find some history or a bio as to why they chose this. Again, they sing about horror movies, so it kind of makes sense. And it's a thrash band that doesn't take themselves serious. Like, it's not like Slayer.
Yeah,
or
it's tongue in cheek.
Or like Exodus, that they take themselves serious. Like an old school thrash band. It's not that. Even though those bands don't even take themselves serious, they're fucking talking about hell and shit. But it's from the FKU, and the album, which is a concept album, is titled 1981. The entire album is based. Every title is a film that came out in 1981. Every song on the album is a horror movie that came out that year.
Okay.
So the actual song is a literal breakdown of every death that happens in Friday the 13th part through.
It's
part
pretty
2.
funny.
Yeah, literally every death, even if the person died off screen, their death is, they mention it in the song.
Yep.
And I think it's fucking hilarious.
It is.
That's what the lyrics are made of. And I actually have some of the lyrics here. I'll read one or two of them. So literally, this is it. 1, Alice L. Hardy, head stabbed with an ice pick. 2, Crazy Ralph, strangled with barbed wire. 3, Deputy Wilson, head stabbed with a hammer claw. And the last one I'll read. 4, Scott, throat slash with a machete. He's literally, there's more melody to the song when you're listening. I'm not doing it any justice right now at all. But I do like how it is pretty creative to just run down all the deaths in the film. And even the chorus is really, really catchy. It's like 2 times the carnage, 2 times the terror, 2 times the fear. The body count continues on Friday the 13th, which is the tagline for Friday the 13th Part 2. So it's just a really creative song, a really just kind of creative horror. Horror song. Again, I could see someone saying this is kind of corny. You know, even to me, I'm like, this is a little cheesy. But I had fun with it. It would be, honestly, a great pick for one of our Halloween playlists. Like, it would work for that. But you know what's funny? I almost put it in one of our previous Halloween playlists, but I wanted to save this song for a Friday the 13th episode. So I was finally able to cash that chip in.
You made the right choice.
I made the correct choice. I also want to point out that the last death that they talk about in the song, it says 10 Paul presumed dead, because we never see what happens to that character at the end of Friday the 13th Part 2. So we're guessing he's not, you don't find out in Part 3. So he's presumed dead. You don't see him at the end of the movie. One more thing I really like about the song, and my best way of describing this, Dave, and you tell me if I'm wrong, is there's kind of like this bridge. It sounds very two-steppy part of the song, and they literally use the or and it's like it sounds like a two-step part in an old school hardcore song. And I thought that was really creative. I was like, wow, that's good songwriting to sample that and then put that into that bridge two-steppy part. But yeah, that's my pick. FKU Friday the 13th Part 2. I recommend all of our listeners go on Spotify, go on Apple Music or YouTube, whatever. Actually, YouTube, the lyrics video is hilarious because you see the actual deaths and then the lyrics.
That's how I
song.
heard it.
Yeah, it's really fucking funny. But yeah, I recommend giving it a listen. If you love Friday the 13th, you more than likely will love this song.
It's not Freddy Krueger University.
It's Freddy Krueger's underwear.
So this was something that literally occurred to me the other night. And I was like, I never thought about why Jason had these colors in this specific rendition of Jason. And I decided to look it up, and there isn't an exact answer, but there's a close one.
By the way, when you pick this, I knew about this.
Yeah, I didn't know about this.
Yeah, I knew about this. Yeah.
So I'm choosing if you want to call him 8-bit Jason, NES Jason, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah.
The Friday the 13th Nintendo Jason, which came out in February of 1989. And now this is per Game FAQs that I got this information from. Jason's purple and blue color scheme is believed to have been derived from a booklet that was distributed to moviegoers in Japan when Friday the 13th Part 3 was released. On the back of the booklet was an image of Jason in a purple outfit with indigo blue colors for his mask. You could find this image.
It's a great
image. If you look at it. Yeah, it's a really good image.
With the axe, right?
Right.
Right.
And I guess being in a being that it's this was like I guess the foreign what's the word I'm looking for, marketing. They marketed it differently, and honestly, it never bothered me. That's what Jason looked like in the video game. I thought it was fucking cool.
Yeah, well, at this point, it's become so iconic. There's so much merch based on that look and those colors of Jason. Now, toys and T-shirts and posters of that Jason. I think I remember reading that they weren't 100. They thought that's what Jason looked like. I think they were almost confused that that's what he looked like in the movie, that he was blue, turquoise, purple,
right,
or whatever. That was what and he doesn't look like that at all in the movie.
There's a rumor that I believe the name of the game company, whoever built the game, is called Altus or something.
Yeah, I know LJN, I think, distributed it.
So, I don't.
They're the company that distributed the game.
But apparently,
I don't know about the developers.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Apparently, the gaming system wasn't strong enough to compute the colors Jason wore.
Okay.
So that's why Jason looked the way he did. But I mean, listen, even if that's a stretch, I'm not mad. I really do like that version of Jason. So it's just interesting.
Yeah, it is. To make him blue, like turquoise, blue, purple, whatever, was an interesting choice. Like the fact that they were cool. He almost looks like Barney running around wearing a hockey mask in the fucking game. I do want to say that those. So I think if you're listening to our show, you probably love that fucking game too. But the actual Friday the 13th game for the NES, I always loved how that Jason, you'd enter a cabin and you'd turn a couple times. He wouldn't be there. And then you make one turn, that little tune, that music just turns on, and then you gotta it goes off like an alert almost. And then you gotta fight Jason Punch-Out style. I just loved how that the way they set that up, where you're the counselor and you're kind of just scrolling left and right, and then throwing pebbles or axes or knives at Jason, trying to avoid getting hit with an axe. Just the entire setup. Plus, the other thing about that game I always loved, and to this day I think it's so effective, is I don't know, we might have mentioned it on the show, but the music. Just the the creepy, when it, because in the game it goes from day to night. In the game it changes, and just there's one piece of music that's so eerie. Even to this day, I feel like it would work in a Friday the 13th movie or horror movie if you used it and kind of redid the theme in a more creepy, kind of more contemporary style. And it's great, and that's a good pick, man. I don't think we've mentioned the game on the show before.
We've never really spoke about it.
Never spoke about it. Did you play it a lot as a kid?
Well, listen, if you want me to do my last pick, because
not yet. Don't spoil it yet. Don't spoil it yet.
But yes, I have definitely played this game.
Yeah, and I know when we first did our Friday the 13th special, I talked about my love for the Friday the 13th game that came out, I think in 2016.
Yes, that game is fun.
And how much I loved it. And in that game, I don't remember if I mentioned it in that episode, but there was a skin for Jason.
I do. I remember you telling me about that.
That looked like this version of Jason from the NES game. He even had retro music that would play from Mitch Murder, which we've talked about on the podcast too. So Mitch Murder composed a little piece of music anytime that version of Jason was attacking you. So look, dude, even in the new game, they had to honor the look of that Jason from the old NES game because of how important it is to the history.
It definitely is.
Of Jason Voorhees. So that was a good pick, and I'm glad we got to talk. I'm glad we got to show some love to the
for sure.
8-bit Jason.
Not even mutant criminals can stop Casey Jones.
My second pick of one of my favorite Friday the 13th things that has nothing to do. This has nothing to do with Friday the 13th. Is Casey Jones, the everyone's favorite vigilante from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Did you know he first debuted in 1985? Wild. He's been around that long. Yep. And Casey Jones has always been one of the most popular characters, even more so, I think, sometimes than the Turtles themselves. Like, he is
he's
always, Casey Jones is always featured in anything Ninja Turtles related. They just released this new game. I think it's Shredder's Revenge on the Nintendo Switch. I have it. And when you beat the game, one of the unlockable characters, it's Casey Jones. And you get to play as him.
I think I have it too. That's sick.
It's so good. It's so good. But yes, Casey Jones. Again, he debuted in 1985. He's been around a long time. He's a basically a parody, and I'm paraphrasing some stuff I read offline. He's a parody, vigilante type character. He debuted in the old Ninja Turtle comics and eventually showed up in the animated series that we all know and love. And in the films, almost every live action version of the Ninja Turtles films, there is a Casey Jones in there somewhere. And usually he's got long hair. He wears like these cut off gloves. Mm-hmm. His weapon of choice weapons, I should say, are just a plethora of sports tools. Or he uses baseball bats, golf clubs, hockey sticks,
cricket paddles.
He uses anything. It doesn't even wear hockey pads or something. Sometimes in some depiction, he's got some sort of
I think so.
And he carries
the bag. Yeah.
He uses a golf bag to carry all his weapons in. But the signature piece on his wardrobe, which leads me to the reason why I picked him, is that he wears a hockey mask. He legit wears a goalie hockey mask. And if you think about it, 1985, that's prime Jason Voorhees time. Like it is. Jason was again 85. Friday the 13th was in full steam ahead. They were making movies, I think, almost every year. Yeah. So, Jason Voorhees was in pop culture, in the zeitgeist. He was out there. Everyone knew him. Kids knew him. And as a kid, dude, I always just was infatuated with the character of Casey Jones because he looked like Jason Voorhees.
I think most kids were like, this guy's badass. Yeah.
And I had the figure, and I had I actually have my figure right over there, but I'm not going to go out of frame. Yes.
Does the original figure, I think it's Playmates that put him out. Does it? It came with loose figure. What's it called? It came with loose weapons, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure that out.
He wears like a blue shirt.
Yeah.
And like green pants. He's literally right there. I can see him. My figure of my Casey Jones figure from the 80s, but. Yeah, dude, I always associated him with Jason just because of the hockey mask. And there was no way around it back in the day. I would see the figure and be like, oh, that's Jason. And even as a kid, when I'd play with my action figures, I'd pretend that Casey Jones figure was Jason before I could even get a Jason Voorhees figure, which was not till the late 90s. I was already not even playing with figures when they had Movie Maniacs. And you could buy legit Jason Voorhees action figure. But the whole hockey mask thing and having him wearing, and on the TV show, the animated series that we grew up watching, he never removed his mask. To my knowledge.
I didn't know that.
I don't think he ever did. I'm pretty sure in the animated series, to my knowledge, from what I remember, he never took the mask. The character never removed the mask. Now, in the movies, it always upset me that in the original, TMNT movie, Casey Jones wears the mask twice, but then takes it off. He's unmasked the whole movie. And it was always a bummer to me. I was like, keep it on, Casey Jones. And even they released a animated film, I think in 2008. And they did the same thing where I guess they want to make him look less sinister. And it's
a little more humane or something. I don't know.
So they made him take the mask off. And I always am like, dude, keep the fucking hockey mask on. That's what makes him fucking cool. That's what makes him a badass. That's what makes the character. And yeah, man, I just wanted to talk. I wanted a reason to talk about Casey Jones.
It's fair.
And me associating, the character with Jason. Just, there's no way, I'm pretty sure most of our listeners, and I would love to hear from people. If you listen to our show, please let us know in the comments of the video or on Instagram, wherever. If you, when you were a kid, just associated Casey Jones with Jason Voorhees. Because I definitely did. You, Dave? I don't even know if you answered that.
100%.
Like it just, that's what always came to mind, and I just wanted to have a reason to talk about Casey Jones and just kind of, and one more thing about Casey Jones, and one of the toughest scenes in a movie is when he saves the turtles in the movie. Remember in the scene where everything's on fire from the Foot Clan, and Casey Jones comes in. You don't remember the original
I have
movie?
to watch it again.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
I
probably
have
been
to
years
watch
for
it
you.
again.
Okay,
Yeah,
dude. He comes. He like breaks the door down, and he goes in there with the hockey mask. And there's like fire, and the Foot Clan's there, and he's like saving him because
I remember this.
Yeah,
Yes.
And that piece of music that Sick plays, and I think it's when Raphael's all beat up. Great scene. It's just a visual of like Casey Jones going in there and beating the shit out of everybody. Just fucking dope. Casey Jones is awesome. So just want to show him some love on the Haunted Hangover podcast.
I also think there was a hardcore band in like the early 2000s
Yes.
called Casey Jones.
There was. They're fucking good too.
Come on, chicken shit! Come on, I'm standing here waiting! Come on, you pussy!
Now, these two picks they're synonymous with each other because they are memories that will always remind me, and they obviously have to do with Friday the 13th. And no, it is not the Goonies 2 story. These are another stories. So back when I was about 10 or 11 years old, we used to play like Little League Baseball, and the league was called MAA. And every year they used to do like a fair. So like it would be this giant fair with rides and, snack stand food and just kids being shithead kids and whatever. So behind the snack stand, there was a big building. It wasn't just a snack stand. It was a snack stand, it was a bathroom, it was an office, a whole bunch of shit. There was a little like alleyway / street, and behind the street was this dilapidated building. And it was a small building. And I remember a bunch of my friends and I were we're hanging out back there doing dumb shit. And
Bad kid shit.
Bad kid shit, for real. And one of us was like, yo, I think I see Jason Voorhees back there. And we were just like completely convincing ourselves Jason Voorhees was in the building. And we were just like throwing rocks at the building and like screaming shit like, yo, Jason, why don't you come out here and try to kill us now? And
I love how you guys just were triggered to throw shit at a building because you guys gassed yourself up enough to believe Jason was
exactly
in the
what we
building.
did. And we're just cursing, yo, Jason, you fucking pussy. Why don't you come out and try to fight us all? You can't take us all on. And we're just screaming. And then, sure enough, there was nobody back there. We're just being idiots.
Oh my god, that's fucking amazing. Dude, I love how you guys were calling Jason a pussy, and it would have been great if someone actually came out with like a bootleg Jason mask or something like that.
That would be incredible.
That would have been fucking incredible, yeah.
But imagine there was someone that was dressed. Like, why would we think that Jason Voorhees would be hanging around in an abandoned building next to a Little League baseball field just waiting for people? Like,
but what's funny is you were probably old enough to know that this is a fictional character. I'm guessing.
Probably.
You guys still believe that Jason was hanging out.
I remember it. I can remember how the night looked. Everything. Just throwing rocks and pieces of brick and shit at the building. It was really funny.
That is fucking funny.
And now this will lead into another memory where this is earlier. This is probably 89. The video game came out, so this is probably like 9. I would say I was like maybe it was 90 or 91. So down the block from my house, there was this kid that he didn't live in the house very long. It was him and his family, and I think he had like a brother or 2 brothers or some shit, and they had the Friday the 13th video game for Nintendo. So like I'd go there and knock on his door, and like we'd hang out and shit, we'd play. And I remember his cousin, whose name was Louie, was staying. That would be funny if this turns out to be you. And his cousin was staying with them for a little bit. So when I'd go to the house and we'd play the game, which by the way wasn't fucking possible, especially when you're 8 or 9 years old.
It was
that
really
game was
difficult.
hard as fuck.
Yeah.
We just would try to play the game, like just try to beat it with every single character. And I remember his cousin like annoying us. He was a little bit older, I think. He was like just being a dickhead. And I remember one day we went outside. We were like done playing the game and we had gone outside to like play. And then we came back and his cousin was inside and we just started taunting his cousin. We were just like,
Oh my God.
yo, Louie, why don't you get outside, you fucking idiot? Why don't you come outside? Stop playing the Friday the 13th video game. Yeah, Louie. Yo.
Oh, no. You guys are really shitty to this guy.
Nah, he had it coming. I think he was being a dickhead to us. That's why we were being dicks. But the best part is, even the kid's cousin was fucking was making fun of his cousin and talking shit.
Oh my God! All because he wanted to sit there and beat the Friday the 13th game.
Nah, he was like annoying us. Like he wouldn't let us play the game.
As someone named Louie, I've been hearing Louie for my entire life. So that could be very annoying. So I feel his pain wherever this other Louie is.
To me, the funniest part is that his own family members were taunting him.
We're talking shit to him just to bother him. That's hilarious. It's funny. I feel like people our age, we all have memories of playing this Friday the 13th. I have a memory with neighbors and the Friday the 13th game. I remember like maybe 4 or 5 of us sitting in front of a giant, box TV in a dark ass room. And I remember being a little intimidated by the game,
how
especially
else would you play that game.
No, of course. That's the way you should be playing a Friday the 13th game in 1990 or whatever. But I just remember sitting there and that intro to kind of go back to the game.
It's great.
That intro with the little mask and the knife flies into it, just like the cover of part 4. Again, very, very scary shit, man. Like, it's so funny. When you look at it now, it's not scary at all. But at the time, that shit was creepy.
When you're a little kid, you don't fucking know any better. And also, I just love how blunt it was when you died. You and your friends are dead. Game over.
Yeah, and when you defeat Jason, it says you defeated Jason, I think, for now or some shit.
Yep.
Like, he'll be back soon or some shit. I love how there's no hope even in the game. No. Even they knew Jason will be back.
Yep.
So fucking crazy. Great game. That was a fun story. I'll be honest, between the two stories, the one of you guys just throwing shit at a building thinking Jason was hanging out in there.
I can't remember both of them vividly.
I just love how you guys were just being shitty kids and throwing shit at a building, taunting. I love how both stories involve you guys taunting people.
Yep.
Yes. One taunting an invisible fictional character that's not there, and some guy with my name.
Dude,
nice.
The next time that I'm in New York and you're in New York, like you're there when I'm in New York, I'll take you to where it is because I could show you exactly where we were standing, where we were throwing the rocks at. It's amazing.
We're gonna recreate it. We're gonna throw rocks at a building and taunt Jason.
That's right.
Maybe Jason will emerge this time. Who knows?
Jason and Friends.
So my third and final pick is the Jason and Friends faux cartoon or faux 80s, 70s, 80s cartoon intro. So this is from the artist, and I'm probably going to butcher his name like I normally do, but his name is Mike Chiecki or Chiecki. Okay. Sorry, Mike. I'm butchering your last name there. And I believe his account is called Frank's Kids. That's the name of his brand, and he's an artist. And his entire page is made up of kind of animation in that old Scooby-Doo.
It looks like Scooby-Doo, yeah.
Yeah, like Hanna-Barbera style, good like Saturday morning cartoon type aesthetic. And he's got a lot of shit. I even think he's like, from when I looked recently, he had like new, like not IP related. So this was like his original creation characters on there. But a while ago, he created a faux Saturday morning cartoon for a show called Jason and Friends. And this shit honestly is done so well that I wish it was a real thing. So you've got Jason there, kind of like Super Friends with Superman and Batman and all that, and a bunch of counselors. And since this is Jason, of course, he starts fucking killing all his friends because they're counselors. But my favorite aspect of and it's so funny because there's shots of like Jason riding a horse dressed as a cowboy.
The one in
machete.
space is my favorite.
There's one of him in space.
With his mom's fucking head.
Yes, that's my favorite aspect, is that his mom's head is one of the characters on this faux show. And she's just floating around and winking at the camera. And there's this funny bit where two of the counselors pop up next to Jason in a shot, and the music in this intro stops because he grabs both of their heads and just starts bashing it together a million times, and then he stops, the music continues, then he bashes it again. Shit is so funny, and it's just done so well. The attention to detail in this intro, I was bummed that this guy didn't produce an entire just fan-made episode of this show, because I think it would have been amazing. I do want to
get
also
something one day,
maybe
from somebody.
If you go to his page, he's got a bunch of stuff with like, the Peanuts, like Charlie Brown, with Michael Myers. I think there's one where Lucy turns into Michael Myers. But my favorite one, I just wanted to mention in another video he put really short. He did a Freddy versus Jason in the style, funny enough, second time I'm mentioning this game, very video game heavy episode of our this Friday the 13th special this year has got a lot of video game references, but he did a Freddy versus Jason in the style of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. And you know
That's
how
amazing.
And you've got the Little Mac is Freddy, and then Glass Joe or whatever is Jason. And then he beats the shit out of Freddy as Little Mac. And then you know how in the original game it was Mario, like Mario comes out and he's the ref. I don't know if you remember that or not.
Yes,
it's Chucky. Shit's great. And this is like a short, it's literally less than a minute long. But this guy does a fantastic job. And I remember this being now this is an old video. This came out at least, I'd say maybe 3-4 years ago. But I remember this being shared a lot on social, on Twitter and on Instagram and all that stuff. And it's just a great little short. Wish it was a real thing. I don't know Frank's kids. I don't know the guy Mike Chiecci, but
I don't either.
If he ever were to listen to this show, you did a fantastic job. It warmed my heart.
Make a full episode.
Make a full episode of Jason and Friends. With Jason's mom winking at the camera. It would be glorious. And again, it's technically not part of the franchise, but it's still, this is probably, besides the video game, one of the most Jason-centric things we talked about this year on the Friday the 13th special. So I just wanted to shout it out and put some shine on it, even though I'm pretty sure it got a lot of attention because it is really well done. It is really well done. What did you think of it, Dave?
I liked it a lot.
You had never seen this, right?
I don't think so. Like, it looked familiar for a second, and then I was like, I don't know if I did see this or not. But I did like it a lot. I just like that his mom, like when they're in the spaceship and his mom's head is in the fucking. It's like
she's got like a helmet on her, like an astronaut helmet on. It's just fucking hysterical.
Yeah.
I actually have a T-shirt. I forget what. It might have been Electric Zombie. Or 8-Bit Zombie.
I know the shirt you're talking about.
I've had it for years. I bought it a long time ago, and it's like a similar style. But
it's the same
all
shit. Yeah.
slasher killers in the Saturday
Just
morning
done in
cartoon
the Scooby-Doo style.
Yeah, there's like Jason and Michael Myers and Freddy and Chucky and I think like Norman Bates or something. There's a bunch of them. But yeah, it should be a real thing. Come on, Frank's kids, make this a real episode. So that was our Friday the 13th special for 2023. Once again, keep an eye out for a bunch of new shit from Haunted Hangover. And as always, be sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, at Haunted Hangover. Also, check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/HauntedHangover31.
And if you can rate and review us, that would be greatly appreciated. And on behalf of the entire Haunted Hangover crew, we'd like to wish you a happy Friday the 13th.
And remember, the best cure for a hangover is...
I probably did that wrong.
Catch you guys later.
Shh.